Hello.
Hi.
Is that odd?
Is that hot?
Hot.
It's that hot. It's
Is
that
that
hot. The summer is one of sport, John, and I do think it's important that I must ask you this question, if you don't mind. It's incredibly important to really get your views on, of all the sporting talents that you have. What are you most proud of in terms of your sporting achievements?
Well, I think it must be I think it must be winning Olympic gold at being able to find the carrot in the square meter container of potatoes.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the moment when you found it. Do you just share us again? Tell us how it felt when, with the crowd round you. It must have been a fantastic moment.
Well, it was, as you say, it was really was just. There's no other feeling quite like it when you you feel that firm and weighty vegetable, against your palm in your slightly tension-soiled grip, and it's just indescribable. Obviously the fans, I owe much of my success to my many fans, the followers of carrot grabbing.
You see, of course, I would have loved to be actually at the event, but I was watching it on television, which, in relation to that sport, it was a challenge because it was in those days, of course, black and white television, and so while the camera was focused very much on the square. Sorry, what was the technical word for it? The box that one plunged one hands into.
It's known as the cart.
It was very difficult to know because, of course, you don't have the ability to sort of see the orange on the television, and so we were really having to react to the almost the fans there were our sort of clue to how close you were getting. And I think there was one point I remember where maybe it was the potato was slightly off color or something, but it certainly got some excitement generated in the audience, and then suddenly a disappointment when actually you must remember that the point where you.
Well, absolutely, yes, of course. I was able to, in the end, I was able to turn that misappropriation into a subtle feint, to throw my esteemed opponent off the scent, as it were. He immediately began burrowing into that section of the cart, which then immediately made me realise that he had no clue where the carrot was. So that bought me those few extra precious nanoseconds to really hone in and really just bring it on home and grab that carrot. Yeah.
But I mean, that's great, and I think again the developments within British sport, or I don't think we call them team GB in those days, but of course nanoseconds were around in terms of the technology that was available to you in that time, whereas a lot of the countries hadn't discovered the nanosecond and so didn't necessarily have that advantage.
No, that is very true. And well, again, I must thank our British scientists. Well, as you say, even back then, not even our empire scientists for the invention of the nanosecond. It dramatically transformed the landscape of the carrot grab.
There must have been a point where you, and I think I've read this in one of your many books, that you were invited to the lab where they were designing the nanosecond, and as you say, it was the empire rather than in Britain, because it wasn't in this country, was it?
No. In fact, it was in Zanzibar.
Goodness me, that was a trip for you. It must have been a long way. Did you?
Well,
did you get there? Slide? Did you take a slide there, or?
Well, it was multiple. It was clearly it was too extensive a journey for just one single slide. It was multiple slides operated by the slide wallers, obviously, and yes, they would leapfrog one over the other, alternating the position of the slide so that I could freely navigate from one to the next in a continuous sliding motion, even uphill. They really were tremendous, really tremendous. And and obviously they were dangling the carrot, if you will, of the nanosecond, on our arrival, to keep me motivated and in those dark times where motivation was flagging. It was getting hot. It was getting it's we'd kind of left the Gambia and were moving down through the Congo and all that sort of way down past Brazzaville, and getting hold of a cup of tea was becoming increasingly difficult. Some days I barely managed 5 or 6 cups of tea.
That must have been very difficult, but I mean, and all worth it for that gold medal.
Well, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, and yes, it's it's something that will live with me forever. Taking it to the pawn shop on Seven Sisters Road, to enable me to well, that's it. Yeah. To enable me to get a new carrot peeler.
Okay. Yes. Well, celebrating drug taking would be a festival or an Olympic sport in some ways, couldn't it? It is all about, the Olympics are about testing the human will, the human potential, pushing us to our absolute limits, and there's very few other better ways to do that than through some sort of poisons or through drugs of one type or another, but that hasn't quite made it there to the Olympics yet, I don't think. I haven't looked at the schedule.
No, I think haven't they got that penciled in for 2028? The intoxication events.
Yeah, maybe. But I think an event called Penciled In would be quite good. Because I was actually, it's interesting, because about 20 minutes ago, I was just sort of pacing around a bit just going round and round my living room, reminding myself of what I have on the shelves, saying hello to the different things, the Mr. Sheen, the collection of used tissues. And then I saw a small, well, I suppose what you'd say it would be a cardboard base with a sort of PVC plastic, clear PVC plastic, kind of glued onto the base, and then within that, about 6 yellow, probably HB pencils, all not used and all beautifully sharpened. And it gave me such pleasure looking at them and thinking, actually, when I sometimes, it's not that often, I might go to a shop that sells stationery. What's a shop called? What is a shop that sells stationery called? I suppose an art shop these days, isn't it? But
yeah, you're probably right. Yes, art supplies.
Art supplies, that's right. But sometimes they have a real range, and it's quite exciting. I wouldn't necessarily buy any because they tend to be quite expensive in those shops. But it's quite fun to look at all of the. I don't know why. The question is, why am I sort of fascinated by looking at all the range of pencils? Because ultimately they're just pencils. But I am taken by maybe spending a moment or two, or maybe even a minute, just enjoying the presentation of pencils in those art supply shops. Yeah.
Well, they do look a bit like, sentries, don't they? Stood outside the Houses of Parliament. No, Buckingham Palace.
At ease, sir. At ease, sir.
That's it.
Said Mr. Pencil.
Yeah. And the other thing that I often find endlessly fascinating now that you've raised the subject of pencil displays is well, you just did you not?
I probably did, yes.
They're very frequently the pencils in these displays or in these what do you call them? Pencil cases, perhaps. That they use to display these pencils. The pencils themselves are often uniquely unsharpened. So actually,
really?
the bottom and the top are identical.
I see. It's probably unsharpened, as in just a sort of the block of the wood, the oak, with the non-leaded pigment inside. Yeah,
that's right.
Carbonite, carbon. What is it? What is some sort of carbon?
It's graphite
filament.
Really,
graphite. Is it? Didn't know that. I should have known that. Graphite pencils. Yes, I remember seeing it on the box now. Graphite pencils.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for that, John. So helpful with your
interjections.
Yeah.
Do you find that you prefer, if you were given the choice, and someone took you into their drawing room, if you will, and opened up their special cigar box styled container, and they held it open, and then they opened a second similar container, and one contained pencils in a range of let's say from HB 10 down to HB 9, 8 down to 0, and then on the other side ranging back up again to B, and perhaps somewhere, I'm not even quite sure, maybe on the other side of the HB you've then also got a selection of just H pencils, but they're all in the standard monochrome graphite coloration. And in the other box, in the other display cigar style, ornately inlaid box, is revealed it's a selection of coloured pencils. There's no range of hardness or softness, but there is a palette, if you will, of multiple rainbows of colour. Almost, were they to be crayons, no doubt you would say they were a Crayola panoply, or a cornucopia of inedible coloured implements. Would you find that your gaze was more drawn to the colour, or to the more monochrome traditional stilo?
I think I have the answer that you're looking for on that. I have it in my head here, and I like the cigar cases. But they are the same cigar cases, just to be clear.
Yes,
it's the same. That is the same. My sense is that I think in my initial first sort of split second, I'll be taken by the colours, the coloured pencils, and particularly if they had embossed in gold at the end of the pencil the name of the colour, because quite often, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to have the name of the colour, and it wouldn't be just red, it'd be crimson.
No. Oh yeah.
It would be, turquoise and all those more mystical and
yes, arcane almost.
Yeah. I would be excited by them, and then suddenly I would switch to the B's and the H's and the HB's, and that whole selection, that whole spectra of different colours, and I would suddenly feel an image, an identity, and I'd be going into my head of being a professional. I think, actually, with these pencils, I could do something amazing, and I could do illustrations of high quality, and I would be playing a game in my head in terms of pretending to myself that I was a skilled pensmith and could do that, and I would be thinking, with these pencils, I'm going to take them back and look, actually, just next to it on the left-hand side is some really high-quality paper. And I'm going to take them out and I'm going to draw the most amazing thing that has ever been drawn. And so I will get very excited. I will buy them using maybe Green Shield stamps or something like that. And then leap out. Tiger tokens. Yeah. And then excitedly rush home and make a decision to, maybe put, maybe in the kitchen table, there's a mug, that hasn't been washed up, and perhaps, an ashtray, and, with some cigar ends in it or something. Maybe some, a fairy liquid that I haven't actually taken properly from the kitchen table and put by the sink. And I think that is what I'm going to be drawing. That is what would you call it? The object,
still life.
There's a term, isn't it, when you are putting things together to draw. I can't remember what it is. And I will have a go, and I'd be very excited. Within the first minute or two, I'd be like looking, this is working well, and by about 3 or 4 minutes, I'm beginning to lose a bit of concentration. Getting a little bit tired. The strokes of my pencils, I'm taking them out, I'm trying out different ones, and it's not quite working. And then I'll get slightly teenagey, or even childish, in terms of being a bit sulky, and my pencil strokes will become really rough and slightly cartoonic. There's a word, by the way, cartoonic.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
And be slightly disappointed that I didn't get the colour pencils, because I think for the amateur, and despite I know you believe that I'm a brilliant artist, but actually the truth is I'm not really when it comes to pencil work. pencil craft.
Oh, okay.
And I'd be thinking I maybe should have got the coloured ones, because I think that I could do a happy picture and it'd be very nice, and I could run and show it to my mother, and she might like it too, and we'd both be happy, and we could then sit and look at Radio Times and decide what we were going to watch in the evening.
You could circle them with your coloured pencils.
Oh, well, that's another good thing. But I thank you for the question.
Do you know what? One of the things I enjoyed very much about that your descriptive vignette there was at the opening of it, when you talked about the name of the colours being written around in a golden band. It was the fact that they were contained within a cigar box. The description of the gold band was redolent of the idea of a cigar or cigarillo itself. Do you not think, with they come with a usually with a gold band, certainly the more quality smokables.
I'm glad you enjoyed that, but I probably will disappoint you in this, because in my head, it's not a band. It runs sort of lengthways for about a centimetre on just one bit.
Yes.
And you can get certain sort of presentation boxes of coloured pencils where they're all in line with each other. One is above the other.
Yes.
Sort of a whole set, let's say 8 or 9. Yep. And you can roll your hand across all of the pencils.
Yeah.
And at some point, the name of the colour will show.
Yes.
On pencil 2 and maybe 4 and 5. And then you might roll it again and they will disappear and the other ones will come up. And that itself can be hours of enjoyment. Yes. Is that something that only I've experienced, or is that something?
Oh no! I think we've all experienced the frisson of how many in the tray will be revealed simultaneously, and can I, in one single sweet velvety stroke of the pencil tops, could I actually reveal all simultaneously? Or is that just a pipe dream?
Well, if you did, just imagine your fans. Just imagine.
Oh, well. I mean,
I think would do in the arena.
I think you must use your influence with the IOC to ensure that pencil rolling is introduced at the next Olympics.
Well, I can assure you, I've tried on many, many occasions, and I will continue. On behalf of you and our listeners, for that matter. We haven't said hello to our listeners.
No.
So, just recognising that you're there. We know you're there. Thank you for being with us today.
Yes.
There we are. So how does life find you on this Tuesday evening?
Still vital, no doubt.
Only just, or?
Well, but you know what? Your clarion call to this fine conversation did find me battling to not slide into slumber. As the anticipation became too much and my eyelids began to sag. But here we are. Here we are now, and it's all good. It's all tremendous.
Oh, right, okay. Well,
yeah.
I think that if one of us or both of us just started to just slightly slur our words, and then sort of it all went a bit quiet, and then the breath and the breathing seemed to change and shift.
Yeah.
That would be okay, wouldn't it?
I agree. Yeah, that would be pretty mellow, wouldn't it?
With all that slide business, it must be still even pretty exhausted. But you've also just come back from holiday, so I imagine today. Was it last night you got back?
Yeah, well, yesterday lunch time-ish.
Did you miss lunch then?
No, it stopped by a little later for us, very kindly on its way home. So that was all right.
Okay.
Yeah. We ended up just kind of mopping up the odds and ends from the items that we'd bought for our weekend picnics.
Just because that was a fun thing to do, was spilling them on the kitchen floor and then
that's
getting
it.
the mop up,
snuffling around them like truffle hunting pigs. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had that lunch, because missing a meal can be another reason why you might be tired 20, 30 hours later.
Yeah, well, that's true. We were probably jet lagged because we were returning from Derbyshire.
Yes, it's a way, isn't it? So just trying to orientate yourself is a tricky one. But fun time had by all, maybe, or not the case.
Most, by most, I think not all of the children were pleased all of the time with our choices of family activity.
No,
but yeah, generally speaking, it was pretty good. Went to Bolsover Castle, which was quite nice, and they very kindly reenacted a siege of Bolsover Castle for us. That was quite fun.
Did they really?
They did, yeah. Yeah, but yes. I did note as we were on our way to Bolsover, because we stayed a little out of Bolsover. We were in Hollingwood, and I did note to Penny as we approached that's where the Beast of Bolsover came from.
I've heard of that, and I can't recollect what it is.
Well, that was the epithet given to Dennis Skinner. He was known as the Beast of Bolsover.
Of course, yes.
So no sign of him though. I mean, obviously he's a bit dead now, I think. But
wasn't that long ago that he died, was it? It was just
no, I don't think it was. Yeah.
Was it just before the pandemic or during the pandemic? I think maybe during the pandemic.
Might have been, mightn't it? I don't. Yeah, I can't quite recollect. But yeah, that was.
Did they have when they were doing the reenactment? Did they sort of? Was it just a small number of people, or was it thousands or hundreds? Or?
Yeah, well, that's it. It was. They'd flown in knights from all over the world to come and battle. So it was must have been, I don't know, 25,000 or so on laying siege to the castle. There was about, I don't know, a couple of dozen people in the castle, and they
probably got in pretty quickly then.
Well, you'd be surprised. I think their tactics were a bit questionable though. They divided their forces up into three teams, and then they kind of attacked one at a time. And unfortunately, they only had one ladder, so it made it quite difficult. 25,000 people all trying to climb up one ladder is
all in fancy dress.
Well, that's it. In quite heavy armour.
Was there a sort of commentator, a bit like in some of our listeners might remember this? Yeah, it's Knockout, where they fall down onto a sort of a bouncy platform if they off the ladder, and Stuart Hall
laughing Stuart Hall, yeah, and Eddie Waring giving his two penneth.
Yes, he was a bit more serious about it.
Well, he was. Well, he was a proper commentator, wasn't he? He was.
Yes.
He was a rugby commentator, I think, wasn't he? Eddie Waring.
He was. Yeah.
And yes, well, yeah, there certainly was the gentleman doing the doing the descriptions of the siege was certainly Antipodean extraction. If you'd asked me, my money would probably be on Australian, but you don't like to be too judgmental on these things.
No, you have to be a bit careful around that sort of stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, John, I'm not surprised if your one or two of your children were, or three of your children were slightly irritated by that. It's not everyone's cup of tea. 25,000 people coming to attack a castle. It can be a little bit dull.
Yes, I guess.
But for people like you and I, we probably enjoy it, and I'm not sure whether I would have enjoyed it when I was younger, to be honest. I think perhaps you were probably maybe more curious as a child, but when we got dragged around castles when I was young, I mean, they didn't quite know how to make it interactive anyway, but they did have those sort of headphones that would tell you a little bit about the story of the castle, and then occasionally they would describe a battle, and they'd always have a sort of a background, and it felt like it was all of the castles seemed to have a sort of a background sound effect of swords and people going "Ray, ray," all that sort of stuff.
I know it well.
Yeah. Do they still? I haven't been to one of those for a long time. Do you still have those in some castles? Those kind of headsets?
Yeah. Well, we went to Chatham House.
Oh yeah.
On Sunday, you see, and but yeah, they had headsets galore, and some people were wearing them as they toured the site. Not that we did, but no, I could see people stopping and listening. So I couldn't vouch for whether or not they had that kind of thespian overlay, if you like.
No. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. They probably don't get repeats on it, though, do they?
That's true, isn't it?
Unfortunately for them.
No, you're right. No, a one-off fee, and that's that. Yeah.
That's it. Now, get out of here. You've done your bit.
Yeah.
Get out of here. No, you can't have another cup of tea. No, you can't use the toilet. Get out. Well, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it, with children to pitch it right, because it's not always about them. It has to be that learning around the balance of and the compromise of family life, if that's what you want to call it. But I had 5 days with my two. I only have two children compared to the vast numbers that you have, but they were, and so it was much easier. But we lasted 5 days, but it felt like together. But it felt like 4 days was. By then we'd done it. We'd had enough of each other's company, because when you're in your own sort of habits at home, you don't really spend intensive amounts of time with one another in the way that you do on a holiday.
No.
Do you? It's a different kind of thing. And I think that they were getting a bit fed up with me, and I was, probably similar with them.
Were you all sharing one room?
No. I think it's important when they're, of their age to have their own little bit of space. They can do their own sort of things. But we did go to the Eden Project, and lovely, which was very nice, actually. Yeah. We stayed in the youth hostel by the Eden Project, which was
lovely.
That was the night we were all together. We were in a dome tent, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Did you tell each other ghost stories and hold the torch up in front of your face?
I wish I was better at remembering stories It's a bit like jokes.
Yes.
I'm not very good at remembering them. And also my children look at each other and roll their eyes a bit whenever I say anything these days. So I've kind of given up. A bit like when the elderly realise that they've been pulled along to family reunion, but no one's really going to talk to them.
No.
Apart from maybe just to sit in a sort of slightly sympathetic way for a few minutes, awkwardly, to say, "You all right, Nan?"
Yes.
Or "You right, Grandad?" "Yes, I'm fine." And there's a bit of a pause, and then they wander off again. It's beginning to get a bit like that in my family, really.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Because I can't keep up with all of the. First of all, they mumble quite a lot at each other. They both understand each other, but they mumble huge amounts. And also they speak they mumble and speak very fast, and they talk about things that relate to you might have heard of it actually. In fact, of course you've heard of it because some of our podcasts are on it. It's the YouTube, and they might make reference to certain things that are on the YouTube.
Artists,
artists, performers, and I might try and ask them, but it feels that by me asking them, I'm slowing their banter, because they don't really, what's it in it for them to spend the next few minutes explaining the background to what they're talking about. And I think that I can understand that, time's money.
So. That is true, yeah.
Well, time isn't money, actually. Listeners, time is not money. That's just one fact that we need to clear up straight away. Time is not the same as money. I mean, for the man who used the nanosecond, you're better qualified to make that point, but I think you've got my backing when I say that.
Your thespian backing.
My thespian sword fighting backing.
Yeah, lovely.
So we've both returned then from a period away. And was there anything that, as you reached for your key within the socks that you're wearing, in one of your socks, to open the door?
Yes.
Was there anything that came up for you around being home?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it always, as you say, there's always a little, brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it, as you step across the threshold and I just pause for a moment and I just close my eyes and I reflect slightly on, the holiday itself, what's been, and how, how calming and relaxing and lovely it was, and the new experiences. And then I center myself, I bring myself home, and I imagine in a few doors' time, once I've opened I've opened the door from the hallway into the playroom, and then traversed the threshold of the playroom, and then travelled through into the kitchen, and then I walk the length of that kitchen, open the door into the utility room, and in my mind's eye, I can see and smell the shit that Toot will have left on the floor in the utility room for us, heating up nicely for the couple of days of the weekend that we've been away, and filling that small unit of space with a very sharp, acrid odour of a well-appointed cat turd.
A cat turd, I see.
Mm.
So, and there I was thinking that Toot was your resident drug dealer. that was house sitting while you were away. Okay. Yes, I know that perfume well. Very sour on the nostril. Very.
Yes.
Powering. And I suppose you'll be going that way because the toilet's there, and after a long journey,
Exactly.
who gets to the toilet first? I think you're lucky you have 2 toilets, don't you, from my memory?
Well, we have an upper toilet and a lower toilet, yes.
Does the upper toilet then filter down to the lower toilet? So if you're in the upper toilet and you're, let's say, urinating,
yes.
and then someone's down in the downstairs urinating, do they see your urine entering the downstairs toilet?
Well, we've had a special clear perspex trough installed to allow that flow to be witnessed. It was in homage to the great cataracts of ancient Egypt, that they cut through the Nile, for irrigation and ease of traversing from Upper Egypt into Lower Egypt, and we felt this was quite symbolic and quite important.
But it's working quite well at the moment.
Oh, tremendously well. All of our crops are growing nicely.
But you're not. Sorry, it sounds an amazing thing, which I'm looking forward to experiencing one day. But I'm kind of surprised that you haven't then added to it some sort of a cat urination device that enables, while you're away, the cat's urine to be removed.
Well, of course, the ancient Egyptians revered cats. You see, so everything, every emission is sacred.
You don't need to say anymore. I completely get it. How foolish of me. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So yes, it all has to remain in situ.
Someone that you know, and I know, Steve, he was going, it must be a few months ago, he was going away, and I was suggesting that perhaps, the day before, that I would go for a beer or a lager and lime or something with him, and he said, well, I can't, Tom. I'd like to, but I can't, because we're going away tomorrow, so today is a cleaning day. I went, what? And he said, well, we have got into this process of, we want to get back from holiday and have a completely spotless house with clean sheets and everything. It makes us feel really good to be at home. So we've got into a discipline of really cleaning.
Right.
Before the holiday. I thought, well, that is commendable. It's not something that I've ever done. No. Well, I mean, I think it's, I can be a bit short-termist in terms of, if I'm sitting at the sofa and I've got some chewing gum in my mouth and I'm thinking, well, the bin is just there, and if I got up and just did one step, I could get it, I would throw the chewing gum at the bin, miss, and then a few months later, I would realise that it was just a disgusting mountain of gum that had accumulated across the carpets. The plural carpet. Whereas, so I think that his, I think that, it's because it's a nice thing to come home and see, everything's, the chaos of domestic life is sometimes when you come back to a house, and a bit like to the sort of sense of coming back to the way things were, the mess, the fact that we didn't even do the washing up before I went, and we haven't emptied the bins, and it stinks for that. I mean, actually, I do that, to be honest. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to strongly argue that Steve's way is the only way, but I was sort of, and maybe he also was using an excuse because he didn't really want to have a drink, a lager and lime with me. I mean, it's not easy to, he might have thought, fucking hell, how am I going to get out of this one? And it might have been the first thing that came to mind. Because he thought, I'm going on holiday tomorrow. I don't want the start of it to be, a bad, boring evening with Tom. I'd like to spend the evening before my holiday with my beautiful wife, my beautiful children, and a selection of yogurts in the fridge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yogurt and lime instead of lager.
Yes, because if you put the lime on the yogurt, it cooks the yogurt, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
that's what they say. It somehow without heat, the acid.
Yeah, that's
actually
right. Yeah, it
cooks
almost
the yogurt.
ferments it, doesn't it? Ferments the yogurt in situ. Yeah, I could see that being a delicacy that Steve would enjoy. Yeah. But I'm sure that wasn't his aim, Tom. I'm sure Steve would be unable to recall a single occurrence of a boring evening spent in your company, Tom. I'm sure.
Well, that's kind. That's kind, John. Thank you. I shall hold that on the dark winter evenings coming. Like a comfort blanket or a lovely cushion that one squeezes to one's tummy if you're a woman and you have period pains.
Yeah.
Or if you're a man and you have
testicular pains.
Yes, because testicular pains can be felt in the tummy area, can't they?
Oh yeah, they can.
I mean, when you get kicked in the nuts or something gets it. It's funny that the actual pain radiates into. It's not specific to the nut.
It is not. Although that does also frequently hurt. Also, but you're right. It can quite quickly radiate up. Up through your lower abdomen and sometimes even round, as far round as your kidneys. Can't.
Yes, I think it.
Exactly
yes. What's been hitting them, or what they've been hitting.
Yeah. So, but yeah, your crocheted cushions would certainly do the job. I think at helping to restore some level of calm to the area.
You haven't seen my most recent collection of crochet cushions, have you?
No.
I've seen all of the other ones, but this season's crochet kittens.
Kittens, yeah.
Crocheted cushions.
Yeah. So you've been hard at work.
Yes, I have actually. Yeah.
So what was this year's theme for the crochet?
It's more the season rather than the year. So the season is summer, and summer is represented by obviously sunshine and growth, and so hay is the stuffing of these cushions.
Oh, lovely! Yeah,
but it's also straw is what I'm using to crochet the cushions. So it's made of straw with hay inside. Slightly damp straw, so it has that sort of, that smell. And I have put a little bit of manure inside to give that more sort of farmyard crochet cushion experience.
A more bucolic, essence to the whole craft. Yes. I can appreciate that. Is it human manure?
Well, yes. But I'm not going to promote that aspect of it, really. Hey, Bale. Hey, Bale. Hey, Bale.
So who do you think, Christian or Gareth, got that more often when they were at school?
I don't know, but they're coming on. Is it the next podcast or the one after? They're both coming on to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So we can ask them then. Because I can't think of an answer that's worth. I think the question itself is enough. And the world is full of questions, which again, just to remind the listeners that this podcast is about the question of what it's all about. And so
yes.
we can't give you the answer straight away, because you will find, and we absolutely confirm this, that by the end of the podcast, that'll become clear. But you cannot go to the final podcast. You can only understand it by being with us on this journey. So, and then it will become clear. You must trust us on that. Isn't that right, John?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trust is paramount.
Yeah.
And yes, to any potential listeners out there who may think it's just utter drivel that they're listening to,
then they're not listening to our podcast,
well,
John. They're listening to something else.
I think you're absolutely right, Tom. I think I must realign their thinking, realign their inner headlight.
Yes.
Yes, to realise that in fact it's as with everything else in life, it's a journey to be enjoyed and savoured, just a way to leaven life.
I missed that.
A way to leaven life.
A way to leaven life. Indeed. Yes. Well, John, I'm thinking that maybe we ought to do this again soon, but perhaps, given that your eyelids were sagging and there is so much value in lying down and sleeping, that perhaps we leave it there, because I've learnt huge amounts this evening. So thank you.
Well, likewise, yeah, very good. And yes, I must thank you for the reminiscences of Olympiads from yesteryear.
Well, it was a pleasure, and we can talk about our respective achievements in other spheres another day.
Yes, tremendous. Well, as always, thank you for being such a gracious host, and I'll speak with you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Tom.
Bye.
Bye, John. Bye, everybody. Bye.